and Kimberly Hamilton with our cafeteria staff. So that rounds out my portion. I appreciate you listening. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Dr. Petrie. That sounds like a fantastic program, definitely to get PR out there. We're very excited for this opportunity that our students get to have and the continued support that you provide. So thank you for that, Dr. Petrie. Any questions? Okay, moving on. The facilities update. We're gonna have Chris Gray come up and give that.
Good evening, everybody. Sorry T's not here. You have to look at me tonight. Sorry. Here is what we have going on campus. Argo Greenhouse. The concrete pad has been finished, so she will have extra room for all her plants, the store. So she'll have a lot more room. She'll be very happy. The ramps have been installed. They still have to be painted, but they have been installed. We're waiting on the dust collector. Once that's complete, Argo will be complete. We're still painting for the store. Once we get that done, they'll be able to go in, start their work. Now we'll move to Middleton Hall. The demo is currently underway. It's scheduled to be reopened in August 2026. And let me tell you, it's going to be different. It looks totally different right now. You will not recognize it. If you didn't know, I'll fill you in. We had a fire in the fuse box in Marshall. Thanks to Student Life, they caught it, pulled the fire alarm. They caught it in time, so it was minimal damage. It is fixed. They still have to add the surge protector. After that, it will be up and running again. Jacobs Hall. We have a new window project starting soon. They have a quote for the repairs. We're waiting on 2 additional quotes, and they can start the work. Brady Hall. We're gonna replace all the units in the ceiling, the heat and air in the ceilings. We're still talking about it. We have to get some quotes, and then that will be started very soon. I know a lot of people will be ready for that. Thomas Gym. The floor has been repaired and restriped. If you haven't seen the floor, you need to go look at it. It is absolutely beautiful. We still finishing up on the roof. Once that's finished, it will be completely operational. And we will be able to fill the pool up. That'll be coming soon. So all the kids, get ready. You'll have pool parties soon. The old laundry. We have to get asbestos checked over there before they can do anything to that building. So we're still waiting on that. That is all T has sent me. So, like I said, if you can get to the gym and look at that floor, please do. It is absolutely beautiful. He did a great job. Thank y'all.
So I just found out recently that we have been having some issues recently within certain facilities on campus, specifically the gym. There have been issues with leaking in the roof, and then we've also found out that in Grow Hall, there's also been some leaking that's been taking place with no mention of repairs. So that hit me kind of hard, especially with the gym, and then hearing that it was repaired and then it happened again, and then we repaired it and then again, same thing. So to me, that was a little difficult to understand. I couldn't fathom why we haven't had further investigation, and I'm not sure if maybe it's the company to blame, or that's something that Dr. Fletcher and I have discussed, but that has been an ongoing problem we've noticed. And I understand with state funding, typically we are looking for the company that provides the lowest bid, but we also want to make sure that this is a good quality company. So I do think that is something up for debate that we should look into further, because we can't keep having multiple issues like this. So it's my opinion that the state should do a better job, because we can't have this happen again with low quality construction work taking place on this campus. So that is one of my big concerns. And Scott Hahn is saying, I would like to add something you mentioned related to Jacobs Hall upstairs and with the AC units in Jacobs Hall. And Jeff is saying, yes, we've been discussing this over and over again. And I would say probably over the span of 20 years, we've been making minor repairs and renovations, but my family has been in the construction trade for a number of years, and I know what good quality looks like. So that's something that Dr. Fletcher and I definitely plan on sitting down and discussing further. Okay, moving on. What's next on the agenda? We've got the student life report given by Kevin Hamilton. All right, hello everybody. Hello all. Now I am taking over for Justin this evening. He's away due to health emergency, so we'll just keep him in our prayers. And I accidentally left my notes in another building. I got caught up in a conversation with someone else, and so I'm just going to use my phone. I've jotted down some points here. Now, back in March, we had activities. We had a reading bowl, a reading competition among the boys and the girls in the Student Life program. And it was phenomenal to see the motivation of these students skyrocket as they were competing against one another in this literacy competition. And it really didn't matter who ended up winning in the end. The important thing was that they were socializing with one another and having fun. And we took a poll just to see who was excited about doing this again next year, and we got a lot of great feedback. So it was great to see that such a success. Now, we recently purchased a new smoker for the dorm, and we are ecstatic to have that. We're now cooking up a lot of great stuff, and we're excited to use that.
And Justin and I, we've got some experience with using a smoker before, so we were trying to figure out how to get that fired up and started, making sure we had the temperature just right. And once we got that up and running, man, I'll tell you what, it was such an enjoyment. We got some of the other students and staff involved. And we were discussing maybe we could purchase a pork butt that we could roast on that soon. Man, I'm already making myself hungry. And we plan on continuing to use that throughout the fall. Now, the Independent Living Skills program that we have, that is James Klein, who is leading that program, and it's been taking off. He's been planning all sorts of activities within that program. So we have the freshmen that meet on Monday, sophomores meet on Tuesday, and the purpose of these meetings is for them to go over reading, math, and financial literacy skills, and we're just trying to introduce them to these real-world situations, and they've really been enjoying that. I think it's a great benefit for our students, and it'll help expose them to these real-world scenarios that they're going to face once they leave campus. And so we're working hard to train these students now and to prepare them for what they'll face after leaving KSD. So that's one of the programs that we're focusing on continuing to grow in our program. We do also have a new curriculum that we have recently purchased for the dorm. That's been super nice. There we go. We had prom weekend not too long ago. I'm wanting to say that was 2 weeks ago. It was an open weekend, and we really had a blast. We took a group of the students over to the Lexington Legends, and we had a phenomenal experience. It was such a nice, fancy place. We were in awe. That was our first opportunity to go there. We had a nice meal that we all enjoyed, and it was a great experience for the students. Some of them were thrilled just getting to sit in such a fancy place and watch the game, and we were able to teach some of the students about the rules involved in the game of baseball because we wanted to make sure that they knew what was going on. We didn't want them to show up clueless. So we were explaining the catcher, the pitcher, all the roles and rules involved in the baseball game. And after they had learned how the game is played, they showed up ready and prepared, and they were excited. They enjoyed that nice experience. And then also, we went to the Legends baseball game, and then we also had a field trip. We went to the market. That was on Earth Day that we took that field trip, and so we got to go and look around. We enjoyed that. Samantha was there and involved with that, and so we had a really, really nice time. And then, of course, we danced later that evening at the prom, and we announced the winner of the prom king and queen. Oh, and yes, thank you so much to Samantha and Aaron for all the decorations for the prom. That whole event went seamlessly because of the hard work of all the peoples here and the people leading that program. And now with the Student Life program, we don't just want to sit back and not do anything. We have lots of plans. We're super motivated. We've got a new disc golf that we're going to set up here on campus, and we're excited to get that up and running. We've got the course mapped out, and I am an avid fan of disc golf. I love it. And so we're trying to teach the students proper form and the proper words for this sport. We're explaining what the golf and the goal looks like and how to appropriately throw it and what a birdie and an eagle is, just the differentiations there. And then we're teaching them these new vocabulary words as well as showing them the appropriate signs for it. So it's a learning moment for them. Plus, they get to enjoy it. And we started out with the boys, and the girls got jealous, so they were wanting to get out and give it a try, but it happened to start raining later that day. But we promise we'll do it again. But we were really thrilled to see the motivation that the students had. They were excited. And we'll see, maybe it could be a team that KSD starts up in the future. Oh, and then one more thing I did want to mention. Justin was reminding me to bring this up. Hopefully, we'll get this all worked out and approved. For the National Students Living for Deaf and Hard of Hearing, we plan on taking a group of staff to Florida for this Florida School for the Deaf and Blind. And it's a biannual conference. It happens every 2 years, and it helps staff learn how best to interact with the students and help them navigate certain life skills. So 2 years ago, that was held in New Mexico, and it was super beneficial. We got to meet a lot of other professionals working in the same field, others that work in the student life program at their deaf schools, and we got to brainstorm with one another and trade ideas back and forth, and that was a great learning opportunity for us. So hopefully we'll get that approved in the near future, and then a group of us in student life will get to head over to Florida. Let's see, that's going to be July 7th through the 11th, so that's one thing we are really looking forward to. And I believe that's all, but yeah, we're really looking forward to what the next year holds. Thank you.
Wow, that is really exciting for our student life department and everything that they've been doing, especially with the independent living skills. Now, disc golf is a passion of mine. I've been involved with it for many years, myself and my wife. I haven't done it for a little bit, but it's great to hear that our students are being involved with so many things, and hopefully they can keep up with everything going on. Next is our KDE update. So, Emma Riley, the floor is yours. Hello, everyone. My name is Emma. I'm the Assistant Director of State Schools, and I'm in here in place of Shannon Sparkman. She wasn't able to make it tonight, but she wanted to extend her apologies. She had a family situation that she needed to take care of. I know we didn't meet in our last meeting, or we haven't had a meeting since November, and so myself, Shannon, as well as Shelley Badgett, our director of special education here, the three of us went to Indiana and made a visit to Indiana School for the Deaf and Indiana School for the Deaf Blind, or the Blind School as well. And so it was nice to meet with them and see the superintendent. We took a tour of their campus that they had there, and they shared many different programs that they had. Wonderful experience for the three of us, and we're hoping that we can visit more deaf and deaf blind schools in the future. So the Division of State Schools, DISS, and the UK, they are developing a partnership with the Kentucky Department of Education. And so we'll have a consultant. It would be a gentleman who'll be working with both KSD and KSB. What they'll be doing is they'll be looking at assistive devices and assistive technology and how students use it at both schools. That way we can get a baseline reading and develop more recommendations, more technology to better benefit our students. The department that I'm with as well, they're also looking at developing a wellness policy, so that way we can have something more community involvement, a wellness policy that can apply for all schools and all school districts. So when we get something developed, I hope to have it pass it on to the board. We're still waiting on the federal level to see if it's going to go through and how that's going to look up there. So that's what we're waiting on currently. It has been drafted and it is in for review at the moment. Last December, the Kentucky Center for the School Safety And my department also requested to come here to do a safety audit and see what's going on campus, and that was taken care of in December. KSD did submit a grant application for the community and school. It was a small grant. It was a nutrition. It was $5,000 for equipment for food services. And hopefully that goes on through. We sent out a parental involvement survey. It was opened back in January 15th. And that's going to close on June 30th. And what we're looking for is we're trying to figure out ways to get parental input, involvement here on campus. And so we welcome the feedback if the board can make contacts with parents and have that filled out. My department, between myself and Shannon, we're connecting with the Director of Special Educations throughout the state of Kentucky. What we're wanting to do is to go visit and meet with a lot of them to develop a rapport with those doses in other parts of the state and let them know about KSD and KSB. And that is all for tonight. Emma says thank you, as does Jeff. One thing that is not on our agenda, I do want to go ahead and add it if it's okay, but annually for a revision or a recognition of the retirement for our staff as well as our seniors who will be leaving us. Robin, you have both of those if you don't mind to read them.
Recognition and best wishes to the graduating class of 2025 KSD seniors on May 22nd, 2025. Whereas teachers, instructional aides, student life staff, interpreters, nurses, food services staff, participation at the Kentucky School for the Deaf have enabled class of 2025 seniors to achieve excellence in many areas of school life and prepared them to join the community as active members. Now, therefore, be it resolved that Kentucky School for the Deaf Advisory Board, KSDAB, hereby honors and extends its deep appreciation and hearty congratulations to all graduating class of 2025 seniors, and furthermore, orders this duly recorded in the official minutes of this body. This is the 8th day of May in the year of 2025. 7 seniors, congratulations on your graduation.
Congratulations. I propose that on a recognition for our staff that is retiring. To let you all know, we have 4 retirees, so bear with me. I will try and concise this down into one. The resolution of the Kentucky School for the Deaf Advisory Board hereby recognizes and appreciates the honorable service of Miss Carla Lewis. Whereas Carla Lewis has faithfully served the Kentucky School for the Deaf with honor in the elementary school teacher for 9 years, with a total of 33 years of experience in education. We also want to recognize Dr. Lee Allen Rohr for her faithful service to Kentucky School for the Deaf and as a mathematics teacher in the high school, as well as robotics instructor for 11 years, with a combined total of 35 years of experience in education. We're also recognizes Mrs. Tina Spurlock for her faithful service to Kentucky School for the Deaf, working in the Kentucky School for the Deaf Outreach Department as a consultant in the CKEC and SESC, the South Central Kentucky regions. She has been with us for 7.5 years with a combined total of 30 years of experience in deaf education. And last, but certainly not least, this person who has broke a record, ladies and gentlemen, she has set history here at KSD, whereas Miss Rhonda Sue Bodner has faithfully served Kentucky School for the Deaf as an administrative assistant for 46 years. And I want to recognize all of these wonderful people and their dedication, and it's really inspiring because of all of them have set a high regard for staff and students here. Whereas the dedicated service to Kentucky School for the Deaf to help this school achieve excellence in many areas of student life. And Rhonda, you do definitely do that, and many more. Whereas now, therefore, be it resolved, the Kentucky School for the Deaf Advisory Board hereby honors and extends its deepest appreciation to the aforementioned, to Ms. Carla Lewis, Lee Allen Rohr, Miss Tina Spurlock, and Miss Rhonda Bodner for their dedication and their service to Kentucky School for the Deaf. On this day, we recognize you all to be recorded in the meeting minutes of this body, this 8th day of May, the year 2025. Chair? Any motions? A motion to accept this resolution? So all in favor? Motion passes. I also want to congratulate all the teachers for Teacher Appreciation Week. For Teacher Appreciation Week, thank you all so much for your work. I do want to comment on some things about the board meeting that might have happened recently and how it was delayed. Let me back up. To November 14th, we had discussed that we would try to set up a joint board with the Kentucky School for the Blind. And we were in the process of getting that worked out for a while. Everything was going swimmingly. We had the meeting set up for February 13th. And we were planning on having that joint meeting at the Kentucky School for the Blind. Through deliberations with our board and with our principal and the principal there and the leadership team, we were looking at everything and try to figure out how this was going to work, how voting was going to work, because we have two boards essentially in the same chambers. And I was speaking about it with Mr. Hahn, trying to figure out the logistics to make sure everything was going to work out. It became overly complicated, and really wanted to look through the lens of the state to make sure we were acting appropriately in the right manners. And so we were wanting to have a session where we could all come together and have a better deliberation and a better plan. Kentucky School for the Blind, they have equipment that is set up and better prepared for them in their room. Here we have equipment that's set up for interpreters. We're trying to figure out how line of sight and was going to work with our board being there, our board be on the right, their board be on the left. And so we would be down the chambers and essentially have two chairs sit and try to run the same meeting with the same agenda. We, as the Kentucky School for the Deaf Advisory Board, would not be voting members on the advisory board for the Kentucky School for the Blind. And so we reached a stalemate, a kind of impasse that happened, and we were able to put a hold on the February 13th meeting, and we agreed that we would reschedule with the understanding to have a joint session. We would come together for a brainstorming and maybe make this an annual occurrence of a meeting. We need to plan it better to make sure everything is organized as well as it needs to be. Their advisory board meeting and our advisory board, we decided to go ahead and move it to March 6th. So what happened then, KSB went ahead and met on February 20th. They were able to invite few of their board members and their leadership. We were able to see the Kentucky School for the Blind, my advisory meeting. They did have a smaller number. They had 5 as compared to our 8 or 9 that we have here. There's a little bit difference. Their bylaws are written a little bit differently. The way the meetings are constructed are differently. I mainly wanted to see how they would operate and function and what it looked like. Vernon, who is their advisory board chairperson, was very curious and asking a lot of questions about our bylaws and what they looked like and why they were drastically different in the way they're written. And so we were really exchanging a lot of notes. It was a very interesting meeting. What happened during the week leading up to our meeting here is my father fell ill and was hospitalized, and I was called to go and take care of him. I went home on Saturday, and I had food poisoning myself from a Mexican restaurant. At the same time, I was trying to take care of my dad and the therapies that he needed to have, and it was not a fun experience at all. I was laid out for about 4 days and trying to take medication. And so I reached out to our fellow board members to let them know I was out of town. Some others were out of town. The chairperson's absent, and our co-chair was absent as well. Where in my absence, it would fall to our vice chair. I apologize. And our vice chair was unavailable for that meeting. And so that's why we decided for the meeting to be rescheduled for today. Hopefully that cleared the air on any of that. If there are any questions, you can let me know.
I do have a question. I'd like to make a motion because for the legislature to recommend KSD, all of our members here. So next time, if one of us cannot make it, that we could use some of the other members, or maybe if we would extend the date that we would be meeting next time, but maybe we could have someone else take over so that we could, if we meet our quorum, we could have someone else act as chair. And it's just, I make that motion because it's not fair to the community if we keep pushing that out.
Okay, thank you. It's been heard. for a meeting, the way the legislature is written, for a meeting to happen, in the future with the legislation, I think we would need a better plan for something like that. If I'm unavailable, if we can delay the meeting for another week, well, and that's why our next available time was May 8th, unfortunately. Hopefully, this does improve and get better. I would like to see a little bit better legislation and how we can make this happen, because I know that we are the main funnel for the community to the Department of Education. Any questions? So we'll have a board vacancy coming up. Anita has stepped down, so we will have a vacant seat. I would like to ask Dr. Petrie, Dr. Fletcher, if you don't mind, to advertise so we can have someone to cover that vacant seat. And also, the Kentucky School for the Deaf Advisory Board is looking at having a non-voting member. And Robin has been here, and we need to find someone to find a non-voted soon to replace. Assistant principal position, Miss Amy Strassner has resigned in February, and so we're currently on the search for a new assistant principal. We're looking at a seat for a non-voting student to sit on the advisory board. And so it was sent to our legal advisor. Greta had called me in the morning and shared with me that, or through our discussion and through a recommendation Dr. Petrie had, we sent her on up and they sent it down to me for a non-voting student seat. They wouldn't be a member per se of the advisory board. They could join in the discussion and the advisement, but the lawyer was asking more questions about how this is going to work and what is going to function white. It had to be somebody from 9th to 12th grade. How would they vote? Would this be a 1 year, a 2 year election for them to be on the board? The application, the process, and how long that would be open. And that was a discussion that I wanted to have. You know, I think it would be really good for the student to be an annual opportunity. It'd be a really good leadership thing that I believe that an annual thing for a senior, if somebody graduates annually, then they won't be bound by the 2 year time limit. Mr. Hahn? I would like to make a motion that we, as the advisory board, approve to set up a working committee to develop, 1, language for this, 2, for selection criteria process, as well as an application for a non-voting student to sit on the advisory board. And the committee would draft everything. They would apply to this committee. We need to draft our language, the formal language that we all need to have, that maybe we can discuss further at the next meeting. Seconded by Bethany Yantz. We have a first and a second. All in favor? Motion passes. I think it's a wonderful idea to make sure that this is heard by a legal process and a committee analyzed and reviewed, and let the student know that that's how the system works. And moving on down, I want to talk about Yes.
So I agree with that. When and how is that committee going to be established so that we can draft that language? I'll look back so that possibly could then we need in August when our next meeting is have a senior sitting on it. What's the timetable to have this accomplished?
If I may, this is Scott Hans. In my experience, the first time when we had the bylaws drafted, the legal department gave me a draft of bylaws. And then through myself and the advisory board, we went through and voted on a working committee. We met once, we drafted bylaws and made revisions. We submitted those back to the legal department. And then they did a cleanup of the legalese and made sure that the language made sense. It came back to the board and we voted on those bylaws. And so it took the course of 1 or 2 meetings and we had it. And so anytime that a chair decision is made to have a win or a deadline, who's going to serve on it, anything like that, it'll be sent out as a copy as a draft form to the board, and then it'll go on to the legal department. The legal department will make a draft, and then at our next formal board meeting, we'll take a vote.
So I'm still confused, Scott, so help me. I understood that that the motion that we just passed was to establish a working committee, create a process for how we choose to meet.
Yes.
My next question.
And so it'll be in addition to the bylaws.
So my next question.
And so that has to be added in first. And then it'll come back to us, the legal department.
So my next question is, when is the working committee?
And that's up to the chair. Jeff is saying, I will discern when that is going to be established. We'll talk amongst us as a board. And we'll have set up a subcommittee in July, would be my recommendation. And then we'll make a selection of a few people, albeit from teachers or other staff that are here at Kentucky School for the Deaf. We'll make a draft, and then it'll come back to the advisory board, whereby we'll take a look at the draft that's been made, and we'll make clear communication as soon as possible to everyone sitting on the board. Any further questions? Okay. And finally, I would like to congratulate, and it's a very proud honor, 2 former students, Siku White and David Helton, former KSDAB students who were selected. Siku White as the assistant coach, and David for the Deaf Olympics in Tokyo in 2025. That's wonderful to have them from Kentucky. Was a proud honor. That's amazing. Siku White has a family member here on the board, and so you have to be very proud, correct? A member of our community. They are seeking fundraising. I think they've reached out to the foundation, and donations have been made. And so we hope that they make us proud. I have the wonderful opportunity to make a difference for the deaf and hard of hearing athletes. It is my honor to serve as the assistant coach for the deaf basketball, and is to prepare in the sports in the Special Olympics for the 2025 in Tokyo. It'll be November 15th to the 26th. And formally, 2 times on the USA medalist, coach for 2024 USA World Championship team. I've given my life to empower deaf athletes. It is my honor to represent the world again, and not only as a player, but now as a coach, to lead our team to success and be medalists for USA. Just to show the skills that we have as same as the mainstream program. It's not your financial support that we need and a national attention. And every coach and player will be representing our country. We need to raise
$7,200 to cover the cost of our training. We would greatly appreciate your support, whether it be a small or large donation. And our goal is to encourage athletes and to continue providing training for them. And it's important that we continue to empower those here in the deaf community and that we recognize this great age. So we thank that coach, Siku White. Big round of applause for them. Go ahead, I'll copy, sign you, Mike Yance. So for the WNBA, the Los Angeles Sparks, they're willing to come and play and scrimmage with the U.S. team in California. So this took place just recently. Oh, and that was a wonderful experience for the U.S. team. Wonderful. Thank you for sharing that with us. Okay, is there anything else that we need to discuss? I'm asking the board members any questions here. Okay, moving on to the public comments. Is that what's next on the agenda? Let me see the list. It looks like we have 3 people on our list here. We've got Chris Helton, but we're going to start with Miss Barbie Harris. Barbie Hall, Lee Hall, and Beecham Hall. Is that what you're going to be talking about? Yes, hello, all friends and visitors. Hello. I know that Chris Gray already mentioned briefly that we have the pool that's going to be opening soon. Man, that was a long time coming. I don't know how many years it was closed. I'm wanting to say for about 10 years. Am I right, Chris? That was about 10 years that it was closed, that we weren't allowed to swim. So these kids have gone without a pool for close to 10 years now. Now we are hoping that we won't encounter any other issues once the pool does finally open. But setting that aside, I am curious, what is the status of Lee Hall here on campus? I heard some discussion being made about turning that into an auditorium. And so I guess my question is, are we in the process of making repairs to that building and getting that up and running again? And then my last question here, within the dorms, we have 3 dorms. So we have Barbie Hall, next we have Bruce Hall, and then the third would be Beecham Hall. And those are currently sitting vacant on our campus. And so I was just wondering about the status of those buildings. I was curious to know what the state has decided to do with those buildings. And I know that those would be a huge benefit for the students we have here on campus, and even for those in the future. It could possibly be an opportunity for us to make plans to utilize those buildings in various capacities, not only for the students here, but in order to help expand our campus and to continue growth. So I guess my question is, in the future, maybe we could establish a program for parents or a parent-teacher organization, a PTO, so that whenever parents desire to meet, they could all congregate here on campus at KSD in order to hold various discussions in regards to events that are happening on campus. And perhaps even getting one of the buildings renovated to hold sleepovers in case parents need to stay overnight on campus so that they could sleep here on campus. We could make those rooms available for them. So that's just an idea of how we could get more parents involved in the school here. And not only that, but also the visiting teams that come to KSD. So the basketball teams, the soccer teams, volleyball teams, even the swimming teams in the future that would travel from out of state, and even esports. We've got a long list. But whenever other schools come to campus, it's really important that they have a place to stay overnight, and why not use these vacant buildings? We could get them all fixed up, and we could utilize those for housing these visiting teams. Plus, it would be a benefit to all parents and visitors that were to come on campus. I believe we do have plenty of room to house them. Middleton Hall and Brady Hall at the moment, well, and Marshall, those are being used right now, so they're not always available. I know we've housed the team in there in the past occasionally, but I guess my question is, we have these 3 beautiful buildings available, and I think it would be fabulous if we could work out a way to have those available for people to stay in. And now, moving on to the student body government and junior NAD, FFA, and other organizations. I know that in the future, those are going to be coming up very soon. And the CTE department as well, so that they could possibly have their own office. I think that would be beautiful to have a space set up dedicated to them, because currently they're having to rotate and use whichever classroom is available, constantly having to move around where they meet. So I think it would be wonderful if we could set up a dedicated spot for them to keep all of their equipment and materials, just so that they feel, and the students, that so they feel that they have a place here, and it would help them have a set place where they can meet and schedule their next meetings. So I believe that's all. Yes, thank you, Barbie, for that comment. Now, in regards to that auditorium you mentioned, I was hoping Mr. T would be here to give us an update about that. But I think you brought up some very good ideas, and we will definitely take those into consideration as the board. Next, we're going to have Rhonda Bodner come up. And this is in regards to KSD getting a new digital display, a new sign. I believe that's what she's wanting to speak about. Hello, I know everybody here. Hello, board members. Man, every time that I look at that sign we have posted out front of KSD, I always take a look at that, and I've noticed it's becoming worn out. I'm wanting to say that's been posted ever since Pancake Day and last fall. I noticed some of the words are still left up there. Some of them are barely hanging on. A couple of the letters have started slipping down. And I recently drove past Boyle County and Danville High School, and I was just admiring their beautiful electric signs and how up to date they were with technology. And I was hoping maybe that's something that we could get set up here on campus. A really nice sign to advertise KSD, maybe plant some lovely flowers around that. Oh, I know, yes, it's gonna cost. But think of how beneficial that would be. We have an old rickety board we're using as a sign currently. And I can only imagine Sandy Smock, she'll probably... Oh, she's been the one doing that sign for about 20 years now, so she might be sad if we replace it, but...
With the students, we're going to redo those signs out there that are currently, I had the students remove those yesterday, take down the old wood where the letters were falling off. They're going to redo those when our CTE shop gets back up and going.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Ms. Bodner. Yes, that is something that we have discussed before. I'm wanting to say my very first term acting as chair, we were discussing that. We need a really nice sign right outside on the corner where people enter. Because the current one we have is a big eyesore, and we've got that fire hydrant right there beside it on the corner, and so I think we really need to set up a really nice sign and a digital electric sign right there on the corner for people to see. And like Rhonda mentioned, we could plant some lovely flowers right there. But yes, I do agree. We do need to fix that spot. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Rhonda. Next, we have Archie Harris on various things. You know what? I almost tripped on the floor right here. I thought this was a step that I had to cross over, but it wasn't. It was just tape. Anyway, I really enjoyed the meeting tonight. I better keep it short. I only got 5 minutes here. Okay, sorry, I'm awkward with technology. I am not a tech-savvy man. Come on, here we go. How do I get this thing to work? I'm lost here. I'm sorry. Be patient with me. Oh, here we go. Wait, no. Oh, I know. 5 minutes. Wait, what do I do? I have it. Go ahead. No, I have your notes. I have it ready. Oh, the timer. I have your timer ready. Okay, let me just try to remember this off the top of my head. So I need some clarification from Dr. Petrie. And again, I don't want to put you on the spot here, but I'm just trying to understand the school policy in regards to state property rental. So I know that here, we're required a $500 deposit to rent here, and we have to request a special waiver for that fee. But we've always considered ourselves as a nonprofit organization, so that money or the funds would go back to the KSD students. So is there any possible way that you could show us how we could ask for a waiver of that fee?
I can look into it. I got the commissioner discussing. But it's something.
The commissioner who, oh, yes, hello.
It's something that I've dealt with since day one, that rental fee, and I'm currently working on that. So something that will work with the community because that comes with a $500 rental. It's been established for quite some time. And there's also an insurance waiver that everybody's required to have as well.
Yes, I'm aware of that. Okay. Well, I just wanted you to know that the funds we get, we plan on donating to the KSD students here. Okay, and then secondly, I wanted to give, are we good? Okay. I wanted to give a big thanks to all of the staff and all of the teachers who have helped our students graduate. I know, Jeff, you recently mentioned 2 who have joined the Olympic team, but I also want to add 2 more names, 2 individuals who have graduated from KSD. They aren't on that team or necessarily involved with that, with the Olympics going on in Japan, in Tokyo. That's on November 15th to the 26th. You've already mentioned those 2. But those 2 individuals graduated. So that's Chris Myler, I believe he graduated in '83, and he went on to become a Division III ref, working in schools across the country, and so he helped ref a couple of basketball games. And then we have Arlen, I believe, Carl graduated, what year was that? '85. And he was involved with this program for a long time, writing various articles and making sure that the deaf basketball program continued to thrive and stayed involved with various international competitions. And then third, I don't want to forget, I know that we have other students that have graduated from this school that have done very, very well with their lives. And so I specifically want to mention Samantha. Did I sign that right? No, what is it? Samantha? No, not you. I'm sorry. No, maybe you thought I meant Samantha. Sandra Frank. Sandra Frank. She became a famous movie star. She's on the rise, a well-known movie star. And I know people said that she's from Louisville because she went to the public school in Louisville, but she was here up until the 8th grade, and then when she entered high school, that's when she transferred. And I think that's when her eyes were open to the possibility of her becoming an actress one day, and now she's a movie star on the rise. And in Times Square over in New York City, she had her picture up there in Times Square. And I just thought, what a tremendous honor to have her and the deaf community represented in that way, even KSD. And that has to go back on the teachers and the staff here who have done a fabulous job in supporting our students. And not only that, I also want to mention Travis Zornoza. He and his wife founded a new company called ASL Shop based in California. And Travis, he graduated here from KSC. He actually happens to be my wife and I's foster grandson. And he's doing very well. He's married. He and his wife are leading a great life out in California. And not only that, I also want to mention our daughter, Jennifer Harris. She graduated here in the year of 2006. And then after that, she went to Sweden as a foreign exchange student for about a year. She was able to learn lots of interesting things about their culture over there in Europe, and then she decided to become an architect. And so where did she get all of that information from? That points back to KSD, our school, and our teachers and staff here who have been doing a fabulous job. Is my 5 minutes up, or do I still have a little bit of time left? Oh, okay. Well, I had several more comments to make, but at least I covered the 2 most important. Okay, good deal. Man, I'm telling you, this looked like a step to me, and so I lifted my leg up super high, but it's just tape on the floor. And Bethany Yance is saying, yes, thank you for bringing that up. And how those people are representing the deaf community, but even our language and just how they are being so successful in representing our community. really all of us should be super proud. Dr. Fletcher should be proud. Dr. Petrie should be proud. KSD is doing a great job. This is a great, successful place, succeeding in the educational program. And now we've been gaining more and more recognition outside of the state of Kentucky. And for him to mention that one lady, her image was up in New York City in Times Square, that's fantastic. And the other gentleman that Archie mentioned, going on to become a famous referee, that's phenomenal as well. And it's just amazing that these people have gone on to become so successful and involved in many deaf sports like that. So it's just incredible to see where they are, and we can say truly that KSD is the best, right?
Kleenex out. Jeff, I want to thank you for reading CQ's letter. But if it weren't for men like Archie Harris and Scott Hahn and David Hamilton and others who were here when CQ was here, because CQ came from a hearing environment, and he truly thought that when he grew up, he would be hearing, because all he saw were hearing men. And then he came here, and he had many deaf male role models. And so we see it all the time, and we say it all the time, and maybe we don't really truly understand. David Hamilton had a deaf father, many of you know, and he had a deaf grandmother. But Siku did not have that in his family. And so many of you who watched Siku grow up, and many of you who invested in Siku's life, you may or may not understand the depth of what you did and what responsibility we have, the responsibility that KDE has, the responsibility that this administration has, the responsibility that this board has to continue this. Because now you see this young boy who grew up in Lexington with little to next to nothing initially, who's now traveled the world as a player and now as a coach. And you heard what he said in his letter, that now he has the opportunity to invest in young deaf men, to tell them that they can do anything. And so it's so important what we do here. Yes, we meet and we have bylaws and we have all this formality, yes. But what you as teachers do on a day-to-day basis, what you do to invest in young deaf people's lives, make a difference. So I appreciate Archie bringing out all of these other people who have gone on to make a difference. And some people stay here in their community and they make a difference investing in people's lives. So as a mom, a stepmom, a mom, I just want to say thank you. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Archie. Thank you, David, for what you have done to change his life. It's a biblical saying that says you teach faithful men who teach faithful men who teach faithful men. And as deaf individuals, you are investing in lives, who invest in lives, who invest in lives. So I appreciate, Jeff, the time you've given me as a board member to step outside maybe what we typically do. But this is the important thing that we do, to raise up strong deaf people who will raise up strong deaf people who will raise up strong deaf people. So I want to say as a mom, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, next we have Mr. Chris Helton. He had 3 things he wanted to talk about: the PTO, the map, and why there is a requirement for sign language interpreters. First, I want to talk about the PTO and the president, because I know that many parents, they would like to know what's going on at the school. They would like to be more involved with various activities and know what the needs are and what they can do. Scott, say that again. When was the last time that we had a PTO? Oh, I would have to say around 2015, Scott said. Okay, so that means for about 10 years now, we've been without that organization. I think we've tried multiple times to get that up and running again, but I think it's definitely time that we get something set up again. A president, a vice president. I know our former vice president stepped down. I took over as the president, and when my students were here on campus, I believe we had the PTO up and running. So that's something I wanted to bring up. And then the second thing I'm curious about is I see a lot of interpreters following staff and certain individuals around. So I wanted to know, is it a requirement for all staff to sign? Because I know certain teachers who can sign, but they're not able to understand the students in their class and what they say. And so I'm coming from the view of this is a deaf school, and I grew up in an environment where my teachers knew how to communicate with me and they could read my signing. So if you can't read my signing and you're not understanding the question I'm asking, then we're going to have a lot of miscommunication. So I think it's very important that the teachers have that ability. And then thirdly, someone help me out here. What the pride, what was that? Yes, the award system. Your Pride award system, or the PBIS, that's what it is. Yes, thank you, Scott Hahn. The PBIS award system. So my question is, are all of the parents aware of that? Or is it just those here at the school? That's what I'm curious about. Because I'm being honest, I had never heard of that before. Yes, right. I mean, like if a student does a phenomenal job and they're doing great here at school, are their parents informed? Does that information get sent out to all of the parents at KSD? Because I, as a parent, would like to be sent home with a paper or a book or something letting me know that my student is doing a great job. And with the online handbook, I'm not always able to access that due to internet issues, but I guess that's all. Thank you. And Jeff is saying, congratulations for taking on the role. We're serving as the PTO chairperson.
Bethany and I have been in talks of having a PTO, and it's nice. We had a resignation after it tried to get up again. It's like having a garden, hopefully this one sprouts and it takes root. And we haven't had one in so long, but having a PTO is definitely needed. And so thank you. The parents are key to any school and any organization. And to have it in that PTO program, hopefully we see that success and you have our support. Thank you, Chris. Thank you. Last, Mr. Jason Smith. Want to make sure everybody can see me. Hi, my name is Jason Smith. I graduated here at 98. I want to make a suggestion to the Kentucky School for the Deaf Advisory Board to set up a club for Joy of the Mind. Dr. Petrie, I made mention to you a couple of weeks ago that you like the idea. My daughter, she just won first place in 3 different competitions. One was a book reading competition. There was 6 different teams. They had to set up stories and then act out these plays. It's a very good leadership opportunity. We'll be going to Michigan in a couple of weeks to Michigan State University And this is an international competition with international students that are coming in from China, Mexico, and the like, and to have a competition there at the University of Michigan for a culminating event. It'd be really cool to have somebody to be recognized over there. I talked to the Bull County coach, and he's been willing to assist maybe in something coming over here to KSD to foster the relationship there and see that our deaf students can be top performer students. Go Colonels. On my notes, our next advisory board meeting will be August 14th. And I'm also looking for a motion to adjourn. Scott's made the motion to adjourn at 7:39 p.m. Well, all in favor of adjournment? Signify by saying aye. And we have a second by Haley. Meeting has been passed. The meeting adjourned at 7:39. Thank you all.